I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today we talk about choosing a career in prevention. Prevention is an interesting concept, where success is measured by something that doesn't happen. Yet as a career choice, it is attracting people that understand the importance of an ounce of prevention. We've all heard it. Our guests, Abigail and Ron from Heartland Family Service in Council Bluffs, are recent entries into the field of prevention and each have an interesting story to share. We'll also be joined by Prevention Director Laurel Muting for her view on the state of prevention in Iowa. Welcome to the show. Abigail, Ron, welcome. Abigail, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I graduated UNO in 2022 with my undergrad in criminal justice and psychology. And so I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And so I went on to get my master's. And during that time, I was a grad research assistant and I worked on 2 data reporting systems, one of which was the Nebraska statewide unintentional drug overdose reporting system. And as part of that role, I was also on the Douglas County overdose fatality review team. And so that kind of was my introduction to really substance abuse and prevention. And so that kind of really just sparked a passion for me because you look at the rates and all these people are dying and it's 100% preventable. And so that kind of really sparked my interest in prevention.
Very interesting. And Ron, how about you?
Hi, I'm Ron Lang. I started my journey working with kids that's addicted to drugs and alcohol. I've been doing that, I did that for about 15 years. Prior to that, I worked with juvenile that was incarcerated, that was in the criminal justice system, and I did that for about 10 years. So when I was presented with this opportunity to do prevention, I was intrigued because I've never done the other side of the coin. So that was my introduction to prevention when it came to getting ahead, quote unquote, ahead of the crisis with individuals.
What were some of the first emotions you had when you were sort of exposed to the idea that prevention might be a career for you? Because it isn't for everyone. I mean, it's sort of an interesting quandary. Like I said, when you're successful at prevention, things don't happen. It's hard to measure them. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, like we talked about last night, is planting the seed. It's all about nourishing that one seeds for hopefully that it will blossom. So we go into schools, we talk with groups, we have panels, and all we could do is just present some information and hopefully that someone will pay attention to what we're saying and that they won't get involved in high-risk situations or use drugs or tobacco, whatever the case may be.
Now, Ron, what was your feeling about when you take a look at the world? How do you see things trending? You've been around for a while. You've worked with kids and families and adults. Do you see a situation that's getting more difficult, better? Are there certain things that maybe inspire some passion in you because you know you can make a difference?
Well, society itself, with social media that goes ahead and promote high-risk behavior, promote drug use or misuse of drugs. That's what we're battling because we're like a voice in the dark, and here it is, they're role models basically telling them, go ahead and do this, go ahead and do the next thing, and we tell them not to. So it's like trying to push a truck uphill with flat tires. So it's hard work, but it's profitable, I guess, when it comes to trying to help individuals to not use or not put themselves in risky behavior.
And Abigail, what about you? You have had some opportunity to work in schools?
Yeah, I go in and I do like a support group there, and we touch on, smoking, vaping, marijuana, alcohol, all those types of things. And then we're also going into the juvenile detention center too. And so getting kind of a wide variety.
What's sort of been the response to people? Are they curious about the information you have to share?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of information that kids don't know, and the misconceptions in media and advertising directed towards children. They have no idea what's actually true and what's not. And so presenting the science of it makes a huge impact. And
Excellent. We're going to take a short break, and we come back. We'll have Ron and Abigail and Laurel back. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Well, because it's the best. And that's true, because I've thought about that. I mean, definitely the fastest. And the biggest thing I hear most people talk about is the stability of it.
Mediacom's network is very reliable. We have a lot of programs in place that can monitor kind of issues that arise. That way we can fix them before they reach the customer.
Trust the pros. Get Extreme Internet starting at $9.99 a month for a year.
Watching MC22 is now easier than ever before. All Mediacom customers can watch local programming online anytime. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your Mediacom account. Not a Mediacom cable subscriber? Mediacom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're speaking with Ron, Abigail, and Laurel about prevention, its role in Iowa, and the scope of activities that can impact a healthier future for Iowa communities. Joining us now is the prevention director, Laurel. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and why the role of new and young ideas, not necessarily young people, but young ideas, how important they are to what's happening in prevention in Iowa.
All right. Well, thanks so much for having me today, Peter. I appreciate it, and allowing us to talk about Heartland Family Service. So my name is Laurel Muting. I'm the prevention director at Heartland Family Service. And so I oversee all the prevention that we do in the community, whether it's substance abuse prevention or problem gambling prevention. Our agency is unique in the fact that we serve 2 states. Not every agency gets to do that. So we have programs in Nebraska as well as in Iowa. We're located on the Iowa side of the river. But again, the work that we do in prevention is really to prevent people from having problems with alcohol and other drugs. And so, we're in schools, we're working with legislators, we're educating the public about how addiction happens and what kind of choices prevent me from having problems and what kind of choices put me at risk for having those kind of problems. So I think it's super important for new prevention specialists to get into the field, but it's kind of hard. Prevention is unique. It is a science, and not a lot of people understand what it is. I've been doing this work for over 20 years, and so my understanding obviously has grown since my first year or 2 in prevention. And so I think the biggest thing for me when looking for new people is I don't need somebody who has all the skills that they need or all the knowledge that they need. I need somebody that has a passion, that's going to have a passion for what we do. Because when people are passionate about the work that they do in prevention, then the sky is really the limit, not only on what they can do, what programs they can create, what networks they can create, but also what your team can accomplish. So passion, I feel like, is really important.
When you look at passion and sort of the components like caring and compassion, in addition to the work habits that are necessary for a job, you're almost asking someone to be self-directed. I mean, to look into their own heart for their direction while accepting guidance. And that's one thing I sort of noticed from listening to Ron and Abigail before you got here. that they seem to have that kind of commitment. They seem to be blending what they're learning with where they came from. So obviously there's a lot more behind where they came from than what they've already learned so far because they're new, but they show that passion. What would be some of the things that you've learned, or maybe a story you want either one of them to share from what time they've been there already, that would give us sort of an idea of how that's shaking out?
I think, it starts a lot of times with being, kind of direct in the interview about this is what I'm looking for, or this is what we need in prevention. And obviously it takes a little while for people to get up and running. There's a lot of things to learn. I still learn new stuff every day. But it takes somebody who's not going to be afraid to get no for an answer also, because that's sometimes, what we experience is, are you interested in me coming in to talk to you about this? And there's no response, or there's just a no, thank you. And so then it's, how do you move forward from that? How you take that at face value and move on, or do you try another way? And so I don't know if that's anything that Ron or Abigail can kind of elaborate on, if they've had any of those experiences thus far.
Yeah, Ron, starting with you, how do you face rejection in the early stages of this job? I mean, what is it triggering you?
Easy. I just roll with it. You tell me no, that's okay. I'm coming back later on. It's that simple. I cannot allow myself to be defeated.
Well, that's a great character. Abigail, how about you?
I think it's just being persistent and also not being afraid to, if I need to call you, I'm going to call you. And if I can't get you over the phone, maybe it's going to your office. So really just taking initiative and being persistent, because it's harder for someone to say no to me if I'm standing in front of them, asking them or offering to provide them a service.
Now, Laurel, these are special talents. A lot of people are afraid of doing that. So finding the right person is not always easy. But what about a person looking at the profession that maybe doesn't have the natural skill set of Ron and Abigail? Can they be taught? Can they learn how important that is, and tie it to their passion?
Good question. And I mean, I think the answer is yes, it's something that can be taught, but it really, I think, has to come from passion, right? It has to come from the heart. Now, are there other things to do in prevention? Yes, we have plenty of reports to write. We have plenty of data entry to do. We have plenty of grants to write, things like that. So are there things that are less out in front of people? Yes, but it really takes coordination if that's all that you're kind of passionate about, or that's all that you want to do, or if you don't have that persistence piece. I think it can be developed. I mean, I certainly didn't talk as much ever in my whole life as I do now. In fact, when I got my master's degree, I chose a non-thesis option because I did not want to do a presentation in front of my professors, and no one had taken the comprehensive test in like 20 years. And I said, well, break it out, because I'm not doing a thesis. I'll take a test and I'll be done. And then to tell me, 20 plus years ago, what I would be doing today, I guess what I would say is yes, I'm living proof that can happen.
Hey, thanks much. We're going to take a short break. We come back, we'll continue our conversation with Laurel, Abigail, and Ron. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Watching MC22 is now easier than ever before. All MediaCom customers can watch local programming online anytime. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your MediaCom account. Not a MediaCom cable subscriber? MediaCom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways. You told me not to touch the stove.
You told me not to do drugs. You told me not to drink and drive.
You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. Our guests have a range of perspectives on the reasons to believe in and invest in community-based prevention activities, and they share something in common, a passion for caring that has motivated an important career choice, the prevention of high-risk behaviors. But on this journey, they get to do some things that are interesting at the very least. To tell us about that, let's start with Laurel.
All right. Well, yeah. So one of the things that we do in our community is we go into the community and look at what it looks like, right? We call these environmental scans in prevention. And so a lot of times as adults, we just zoom past in our cars, or, it doesn't hit us, but it hits youth differently, right? And so we try to go into some of these shops, whether it's alcohol outlets, convenience stores, vape shops, marijuana distributors, and we try to see what all kinds of products are in there, because we're talking with young people and all people, policymakers in general, of what is going on in our community and what the drug culture looks like in our community. And so Ron and Abigail probably the quickest I've ever been able to do environmental scans with any of my employees. They were really excited and ready to go. And so we did some environmental scans not even a month after they'd been hired. And so that was an exciting and interesting day. Ron, do you want to talk about your experience with that?
Well, it was my first time ever. And the things I saw was that if I was lighter complexion, I would have been blushing, because the apparatus that's been used to either hide the stash, your drugs, or to beat your UA was just incredible. And we went to that one store with the, what was it? The coffee machine thing, the whipped cream thing. I can't remember the name, but
the nitrous oxide. Yeah.
Yes. Regardless, it was enlightening, to say the least.
And Abigail, what about you? What did you see that sort of shocked you?
They have a little bit of everything. One thing that really stood out to me was the glass pipes, like the meth pipes. And I was like, what's going on? I didn't know you could sell these, and these are all the products that are sold. And then going in and seeing walls and walls full of the same product, but different, slightly different, like the Kratom, it's completely unregulated, it's legal. And they have just walls and walls. And he's like, as soon as I take ownership of this, it's gone. So they know it's addictive and things like that too. So I don't know, just hearing their perspective and their lack of education about it, but they're telling these clients things, it blew my mind a little bit.
So now you're in this environment. It's like the wild, wild west. You've got these stores that say and do whatever they want, they virtually unregulated, but the public believes this stuff. What is your expectation in how to solve this problem with misinformation? Abigail, for you, I mean, if you're trying to deal with so much misinformation and all these subtle cues to get people to do these high-risk behaviors, how do you feel about what you need to do to get people's attention?
I mean, I think it's the same as what we do with prevention with kids. I think knowledge is power. I think we need to get the information out there. We see all this advertising from these other national organizations like tobacco and vaping and things like that. They're throwing that stuff in kids' faces. So I think we need to throw the other information in their faces as well, so they have that understanding.
And Ron, what about you?
Someone is getting rich, right? Because they have the humongous ads about using the items, using the drugs, using whatever, and then they have the fine print. This might cause addiction or whatever the case would be. So somebody's getting rich. So the lack of education on society's part is the driving factor. Because the more we're ignorant, we'll accept some of the information that we're given.
That makes perfect sense. You know, Laurel, I was just on a webinar this morning looking at some statistics on the East Coast and New Jersey, and they're starting to show some tremendously good things happening with fentanyl demand reduction and opioid reduction, but a huge spike in meth and cocaine. And so these are like old stories coming back again, and you would think people have learned their lesson, but here these things come back. What do you think drives this in the community?
Good question. And I think we have to start thinking about prevention differently, because we're never, until we get rid of the demand for substances, the supply is always going to be there, right? That's the cycle. Like we get one substance to go down, or, you know, get less, and then another one pops up, right? And it's demand. It's trauma. It's a lot of adverse childhood experiences, it's poverty, it's, you know, which is one of the ACEs. And so I think, you know, until we can figure out what is driving the demand, and that's different for each person, right? But right now we have a huge crisis of mental health. Mental health problems drive substance use, and vice versa. Substance use drives mental health problems. And so until we can get, you know, people to pay attention to mental health and those kind of problems and what causes them, you know, it's just a vicious cycle. So we have to figure out the demand piece of it.
Well, that's a great point. Hey, we're going to take a short break, and afterwards we're going to ask Abigail, Ron, and Laurel to share some final comments, insights, and inspiration about life in the world of prevention. See you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
Get ready. MediaCom is now
Mobile?
well, not just mobile, but a 5G mobile network with reliability you can count on.
Really?
Just check out this map. Coast-to-coast coverage, plus hundreds of free extreme hotspots. It's an unbeatable network, and we've got some unbeatable prices too.
But I love this phone.
Easy. Keep your phone when you switch. And guess what? You'll love it even more. MediaCom Mobile. Learn more today.
Watching MC22 is now easier than ever before. All MediaCom customers can watch local programming online anytime. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your MediaCom account. Not a MediaCom cable subscriber? MediaCom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Welcome back. Today on Surviving Bad, we explored the motivations behind choosing a career in prevention and the importance of an ounce of prevention. Let's see what insights and inspiration our guests have to share. Abigail, starting with you, what would you want somebody considering a career in prevention to think about most importantly?
I would say think about the impact you can have. You might not necessarily see it, but it's happening. You know, one thing for me is looking at the overdose rates. That's what drew me to prevention. And knowing that I'm working towards preventing these deaths and the negative impacts it has on other people is really what drives me. And I don't need to see that work immediately or next year. Like, I just keep doing the work, and I know that my results are gonna come out eventually.
Well, thank you. Ron, your thoughts?
With me, it was challenging when Laurel told me about the job. I asked her to paint me a picture, and I was kind of familiar with the picture. I worked with kids that was addicted to alcohol and drugs prior, so I know that the work that you put in, you might not see the end result. I knew that coming in. And talking with Abigail, me contacting schools and colleges around here to come in to talk to them about misuse of drugs, vaping, even gambling, and I wouldn't get any type of return on my email. She was like, it's hard to say no to someone that's standing in front of you. So with that mindset and my persistence is like, I'm going for it, and I'm going to put you in an uncomfortable position to tell me no to my face, or you're going to get spammed with emails basically because I'm coming at you full force.
Thank you, Ron. And Laurel, wrap us up a little bit with your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think so. For somebody considering a career in prevention, I feel like the sky is the limit. Obviously, we have funders that expect a certain thing, and within reasons for, with those funders, the sky is really the limit. You can develop new partnerships, you can develop new collaborations, you can meet new people, and really impact people's life in a positive way. And again, you might not even know that, but it's knowing that the work that you do is making a difference. And so, I mean, I've been doing prevention for over 20 years. And the reason I keep doing this job is because I love it. I love being in schools with kids. I love being with legislators and helping them understand things that they need to understand as they're making policies. And every day is different. I don't have to sit behind my desk all the time. In fact, I rarely do. And so every day is different, and it's exciting. And it's a lot of fun, especially if you're surrounding yourself with good people that have passion too.
Well, thank you all so very much. And thank you for watching today. Check out our website as well as keeping an eye on MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration on MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.